How well do you know medieval history? This era, which began around the year 1000 CE, is often referred to as the Dark Ages. However, there were many significant events that took place during this time period, and some of them may surprise you. How many of these medieval history facts do you already know? Let's find out. Starting with the big one. What percentage of Europe's population was wiped out by the Black Death? Was it 10%, 20%, or 50%? The Black Death, also known as the bubonic plague, was a devastating pandemic that swept through Europe from 1347 to 1351. It is estimated that the Black Death killed about 1/3 of Europe's population. So the answer is 33%. When was Charlemagne crowned Holy Roman Emperor? Was it in 750 CE, 800 CE, 850 CE? On Christmas Day, in the year 800, Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne, the King of the Franks, as the first Holy Roman Emperor. So the answer is 800 CE. Which famous Viking led the first European expedition to North America? Was it Ragnar Lothbrok, Eric the Red, or Leif Erikson? The first European to set foot on continental North America was the Icelandic explorer Leif Erikson around the year 1000. So, the answer is Leif Erikson. What important document limited the power of the English king in 1215? Was it the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, or the Magna Carta? The Magna Carta, which translates to Great Charter, was a document that was forced on King John of England by a group of rebellious barons in the year 1215. So, the answer is the Magna Carta. How long did the 100 Years' War actually last? Was it 100 years, 116 years, or 150 years? The 100 Years' War was a series of conflicts between England and France that lasted from 1337 to 1453, a total of 116 years, so the answer is 116 years. Who was the Venetian merchant that traveled to China in the 13th century? Was it Marco Polo, Christopher Columbus, or Vasco da Gama? In the 13th century, the Venetian merchant and explorer Marco Polo traveled to Asia along the famous Silk Road, and his stories inspired many Europeans to do the same. So the answer is Marco Polo. In what year did the Great Fire of London take place? Was it 1662, 1665, or 1666? The Great Fire of London was a devastating fire that swept through the city in 1666, destroying a large portion of the city and leaving thousands of people homeless. So the answer is 1666. When did Constantinople fall to the Ottoman Empire? Was it 1451, 1453, or 1463? After a lengthy siege, the Ottoman army captured the city of Constantinople on May 29, 1453, marking the end of the Byzantine Empire and the beginning of Ottoman rule. So, the answer is 1453. What was the name of the strict code of honor that samurai followed in Japan? Was it Bushido, Shogunate, or Shogun? Bushido was the ancient code of conduct that samurai were expected to follow in medieval Japan. It emphasized loyalty, courage, honor, and self-discipline. So the answer is Bushido. When were the first universities in Europe founded? Was it in the 8th century, 11th century, or 13th century? The first universities in Europe were founded in the 11th and 12th centuries. So the answer is 11th century or 12th century. Now it's time for round 2. What type of shoes did medieval peasants wear? Were they soft leather shoes, hard leather shoes, or wooden shoes? Medieval peasants typically wore soft leather shoes that were designed to be practical for working in the fields. So the answer is soft leather shoes. What famous medieval castle was built by King Richard the Lionheart? Was it Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, or Chateau Galud? Château Galloud was a castle on the River Seine, built by King Richard the Lionheart in 1196. So the answer is Château Galloud. Which deadly weapon was invented in China but used extensively in Europe during the Middle Ages? Was it the crossbow, the sword, or the mace? The crossbow was invented in China around 100 BCE, but was used extensively in Europe during the Middle Ages. So the answer is the crossbow. Who was the legendary medieval warrior Queen of England? Was it Queen Elizabeth I, Queen Victoria, or Queen Isabella? Queen Isabella, also known as Bloody Isabella, was the Queen of England from 1160 to 1194. She was known for her fierce personality and political ambitions. So the answer is Queen Isabella. Who wrote the famous medieval romance novel The Canterbury Tales? Was it Geoffrey Chaucer, William Shakespeare, or Miguel de Cervantes? The Canterbury Tales is a collection of stories written in the 14th century by English poet Geoffrey Chaucer. So the answer is Geoffrey Chaucer. What architectural style is exemplified by the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona? Was it Romanesque, Gothic, or Baroque? The Sagrada Familia is a basilica in Barcelona that was designed by Antoni Gaudí and is considered to be a masterpiece of Catalan modernism, or late Gothic architecture. So the answer is Gothic. What was the name of the last official civil war in Europe before World War I? Was it the Franco-Prussian War, the American Civil War, or the Crimean War? What was the name of the treaty that ended the First Crusade? Was it the Treaty of Westphalia, the Treaty of Susa, or the Treaty of Cordoba? The Treaty of Susa was signed in 1153 and marked the end of the First Crusade. So the answer is the Treaty of Susa. Where did the traditional image of the wild man of the woods in medieval art originate? Was it Celtic art, Greek art, or Roman art? The image of the wild man of the woods in medieval art originated from ancient Roman art and mythology. So the answer is Roman art. In what century did the Renaissance begin? Was it the 12th century, 14th century, or 16th century? The Renaissance was a period of cultural and intellectual change that began in Italy in the 14th century and spread throughout Europe. So the answer is 14th century. How many plagues are believed to have occurred in Europe between the year 1300 and 1400? Was it 2, 3, or 4? Between the year 1300 and 1400, 3 plagues occurred in Europe. So the answer is 3. Now it's time for a final round, and it's time to double your score. When was the Battle of Hastings? Was it 1066, 1166, or 1266? The Battle of Hastings took place on October 14, 1066. It was a battle between the English army of King Harold Godwinson and the Norman French army of William the Conqueror. So the answer is 1066. Who was the last official medieval monarch of England? Was it King John, King Richard the Lionheart, or King Henry VIII? King Henry VIII was the last official medieval monarch of England. He reigned from 1509 to 1547. So the answer is King Henry VIII. What kingdom did Saladin rule over? Was it the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the Kingdom of England, or the Kingdom of France? Saladin was the founder and ruler of the Ayyubid dynasty, which ruled over the Kingdom of Jerusalem from 1174 to 1193. So the answer is the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Who was the famous medieval scientist who proposed heliocentrism? Was it Isaac Newton, Nicolaus Copernicus, or Galileo Galilei? Nicolaus Copernicus was a Polish astronomer and mathematician who proposed the heliocentric theory, which placed the Sun at the center of the solar system. So the answer is Nicolaus Copernicus. Which medieval monarch commissioned the building of the Tower of London? Was it William the Conqueror, King John, or Henry II? William the Conqueror commissioned the construction of the Tower of London in 1066. So The answer is William the Conqueror. What English town was largely destroyed by a volcanic eruption in 1783? Was it Plymouth, London, or Newcastle? The English town of Newcastle was largely destroyed by the volcanic eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 1783. So the answer is Newcastle. What was the name of the last official Holy Roman Emperor? Was it Charles V, Frederick Barbarossa, or Rudolph of Habsburg? Charles V was the last official Holy Roman Emperor. He reigned from 1519 to 1556. So the answer is Charles V. And how many of these medieval history facts did you get right? If you got 14 or more correct, you are a medieval master. Share this post in a community tab and tag 3 friends who might be interested in taking the quiz. If you got 8 to 13 correct, you are a true medievalist. You know quite a lot about the Middle Ages. If you got 4 to 7 correct, you are a medieval apprentice. Keep learning more about the Middle Ages, and if you got 0 to 3 correct, you are a medieval novice. Keep studying the Middle Ages to learn more about this amazing historical period.